Hello everyone, Mark here. Welcome back to my garage. So, this is part 2 of the control panel for the Myford Super 7. Encountered a few little issues, one being I don't have a drill bit big enough to drill a hole that I need to drill. So, let's see if I can think of a creative way of making that hole, shall we? Right, so the big problem I've got is with this, which is the e-stop switch that goes into this control panel. Now the issue is, I need to make a hole that size. Now that's needs a 22mm hole. I don't have a 22mm drill bit, and to be quite honest, I don't know of anybody that does either. I suppose I could buy a hole saw for it, however it's already taken long enough to do this bleeding project, waiting for parts and just general things in the whole workshop life, to all the stars to align to get it done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark up on this panel whereabouts it's going. I do have a drawing that shows me where I'm going to put all my bits, and once I've got that marked up, I'm then going to figure out the exact circle that I'm going to put there. And once I've put that in, I'm going to drill a series of holes around it instead, and then break it out and then file the edges round it. It's the only option I've got. It's not the best, but at the end of the day, it'll work. Let's do the whole make do and mend attitude, shall we? Right, there we go. That's how it's going to look once everything's installed on it. This is actually all on the bottom. I've kept the protective cover on the other side of the aluminium. That'll make it look nice, at least for a few minutes till it gets chipped with swarf or whatever. This is the spacing. It's how it's going to look, obviously, as it says right there. That's going to be the emergency stop switch. That's going to be the speed dial. And then that's going to be the forward and reverse. And then obviously centre is stop. Right. Let's see about drilling these ear holes, shall we? Right, seeing as I can't think of a clever way of clamping this down to my pillar drill bench, at least not without taking the vise off it, what I've done is I'm going to clamp it to this. This is really rigid and solid, and I'm going to drill it by hand with this. Thankfully, the holes being perfectly vertical in all that kind of orientation isn't actually too critical, because all of these holes are measured with slight clearance for tolerance anyway. So I think let's get to it. I've decided I'm going to use a 4mm drill bit to get that to focus. I'm going to use a 4mm bit to start on to make the pilot holes for each one. Apart from the little tiny one there. That one I'm just going to go straight forward with the 2.5mm, because that needs to be a very small bit. But the other 3 holes I will start with a 4mm. Let's put this in here. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let's start over here with this one. Well, that was simple. That's number 1 drilled. Apologies if you can hear some drilling noises in the background, but we've got some window fitters in at the moment. They're fitting us a new bathroom window, so hopefully it's not too distracting for you. A middle hole. And let's go for the one on this end now. There we go. Right, now let's step up to the drill sizes that I actually need. So, the one on this end, as I said, is going to be, I'm going to drill a few holes around it to be then able to cut out the main hole for the big chunky boy e-stop switch. However, this one here needs to be an 8mm hole. So let's get to that, shall we? There we go. One 8mm hole. And then the one over here needs to be a 7mm hole, so let's put a 7mm one in that. I'll tell you something, this DeWalt drill was the best investment I ever bleeding made. There we go, that's fantastic. Right, now, let's start off. I'm just going to grab myself my little deburr tool here. Just going to put a little touch up on these holes here, because I want them to be not sharp, because I don't want them cutting into the switches, to the switch bodies or anything like that. The reason I actually drilled a hole through on this big one is so that if I want to, I can make myself a jig to put this in with a pin in the pillar drill, and then just offset it and spin the plate round, do a drill, spin it, do a drill, spin it, do it, that kind of operation. Right, next thing I've got to do is measure across from here, because it turns out I've been a complete spoon and forgot to do it correctly here. So I'm just going to re-measure across 2.5mm in that direction to be able to put the little tiny 2.5mm hole in there. Right, drilled the 2.5mm hole in the correct place now. I was only off by like 1/2 mil, but every little helps. I've marked out roughly the 22mm, so I'm just going to drill several holes in sequence around it until I liberate this chunk here, and then hopefully that'll fit on there rather nicely. Right, I've finished cutting the holes now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my Dremel with a cut-off wheel in it, just to cut between the holes and liberate the central section. Let's give it a shot, shall we? I do have hearing and eye protection on. These thin, wappy blades here on these things, if they shatter, you don't want those getting anywhere near your vital bits. Hey, success! Out she came. That hole will tidy up nicely with a file now. So let me get it set up in the vise, ready to do a bit of filing, shall we? Alright, one file, one hole to be filed. Let's give it a shot, shall we? That is definitely the beauty of aluminium. It you can move a lot of material very quickly. Let's flip that over so I can work on the other side going down rather than trying to pull upwards. I'll just readjust the camera for you guys so you can see a bit better. There you go. not a perfect circle, but it's pretty close anyway. As we like to say where I'm from, the blind man will be pleased to see it. Well, don't know about you guys, but I think that fits rather well. Beautifully in where I want it. Nice and on the line. Actually, it'll come from that way like that. So it'll fit nicely there. Don't worry about that odd looking angle, that's just on the wobble on the switch, that's fine. But that fits nice and tight and flat against there, just in the right place. I'm happy with that. Obviously this will be the front panel like that, but it'll be that rode on like that. That is wonderful. Right, next stage now is to drill the holes on the perimeter that will then be used to bolt this panel onto the angle bracket work of the rest of the box. Now I've worked out whereabouts I want this to be, so that the holes in the angle are as close as I can be bothered to get it to halfway on the along the midpoint of the angle, so halfway on here ish. So that works out here as come in from the edge by 10.5mm, and I've just scored a line all the way around so I know that that's where it's going to be. Now I just need to work out whereabouts exactly I want the holes to be for the bolts. Now I'm not sure how many bolt holes I want. I'm thinking 2 per side. That should be a nice strong mount point in my opinion. So yeah, let's work out a nice distance on these short edges and then the long edges, and let's get to putting some more holes in it, shall we? Right, so I've decided I'm going to put 3 along the long sides. This is mainly for aesthetic reasons. 2 on the short side. I've got plenty of M4 hardware, so I'm going to use that to bolt it in place. So these ones are just going to be clearance holes for M4, so I have a 4mm drill bit. Let's stick some holes in it, shall we? Well, some more holes. Here we go. There's one. There's 2. And there's 3. There's 4. And there's 5. Right. Now I've got to spin this round so I can do the other holes. At the moment they're just floating in midair, so let's swing this round, shall we? Knock all the bits onto the floor. That's what the floor was made for. Let's get this thing reclamped. Nice and solid. That's lovely, not going anywhere. Right, let's do the next lot. There's another one. Come out a bit of swarf stuck in the drill bit. And another. And again. Tell you one thing, at least aluminium is nice and easy to work with for drilling and cutting. And there we go. That's all the holes drilled there for that. Next step now is to transcribe these holes using my transfer punches onto the aluminium frame. Right, there we go. Now I've got all the holes drilled and that's all together. Top bar's a little bit screwy, but it does come together and meets correctly inside, so just the way it is, I suppose, now. As you can see, I haven't put any nuts on yet, but it holds together nice. That's nice and strong out now. I'm happy with that. I am happy with that. Right, next step really is to work out the final mounting points, which are 4 holes on here, which are for mounting the forward and reverse switch to. After that then it's just 2 holes, one in the end there, one in there, and then 2 corresponding holes in the box itself for rivet nuts to actually then screw this down onto the panel. So let's, what I'll do is I'll mark up the holes ready to cut on this, ready to drill on the 4-hole pattern here, and then we'll get those drilled and I'll bring you back. There we go, trial fit with them fitted. I think that's going to look pretty smart in my opinion. There's the back for you. Oh yes, it's rather smart. Obviously just got the potentiometer that goes through there. So there'll be a final piece that goes in the middle, which will be that. It'll just be sat there like so. And that'll be the panel. Oh, that's rather spiffing that, I do believe. Oh yes, that's rather smart, isn't it? So, what is left to do? I've got to modify the angle because when this is in the panel, which is like that, it won't fit properly because of the ridge of this switch. So I'm just going to chop a bit out of here. I'm just going to use the Dremel again because it's the quickest way of doing it. I'm just going to cut just going to cut the bottom of the angle off there, just so that I've got clearance to get this in. Once it's all in place, that's the main thing really. Yeah, and then a final thing is to put the holes in the ends of this as well to bolt it to the box itself. And that should be the box done, which is finally, as one might say. So next step, like I said, is just to cut that angle. I'll get my Dremel out. You've seen me do some dremeling already in this video, so I'm not going to bore you to death with it, doing it again. So I will bring you back when I bolt it all together onto the box itself. Right, that's it all bolted together. Not too shabby really, is it? All the bolts in there nice and tight. It's rock solid, this thing. Nice and strong that. Rattling this switch in here. It's like, oh, it's really strong that. I'm happy with that. That's beautiful that. Right, just gotta drill the holes in the ends and then put the corresponding holes in the box itself, and then that'll be that job jobbed, as it were. So let's figure out whereabouts I want these holes in the ends. Right, it's together. It's done. Well, still got to take the wrapping off it, clean it up, give it a nice nice polish. I think I'll go over it with just some sandpaper, give it a nice, apart from the top plate, I'll give the rest of it a nice brushed look, and then take the protective cover off the top, make that nice and shiny. But it's all together. I've decided to make it so that it's just two bolts either side. I've got a rivet nut gun, so I just put some rivet nuts in here, just some M4 rivet nuts just to hold the lid on. And yeah, so that's my solution to holding it together. As you can see, there's quite a few bolts holding the top lid onto the frame, but that's because this then holds the frame in its like squareness, as it were. Keep it as it needs to be. Oops, sorry, got it upside down. That's the way it'll be. So the lathe will be here. So beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Next step then is to take it all apart, and then I've got to mark the mounting holes in the bottom of this to actually fasten it to the lathe bench. So I'll dismantle this and then I'll bring you back over at the lathe. Right, got it in position. This is where it's going to be. Right there. It'll be sat slightly above that though, because it'll be sat up on things, but that's fine. That's good. Yeah. I have identified the size of transfer punch that I need. In this situation, it happens to be a 8mm. So that is an 8mm transfer punch. So now, time to come up from the bottom and just tap the bottom of this to get me some marks, so I know where I'm going. Yeah, and hopefully this should work. Let me try bringing you in closer. Right, so I've now drilled the holes in the base of there. Again, there's no sharp edges, that's just the plastic wrap that you can see in there now. But from what I can see, they do in fact all line up, which is amazing. So I went into my little nut and bolt box and brought out some nuts and bolts and some washers. Let's see if this works. Oh, I didn't bring out enough washers. That's typical. Just grab another 4 washers. Give me a moment. There's 2, 3, and 4. Right. So I've definitely got enough washers now. Okay. So it's going to be mounted from the bottom, you see. So these are going to act like studs, which is what I'm after. Let's see if it works. I'm not gonna like really tighten these down at the moment because well, I haven't finished yet, so I don't need to tighten them completely flat currently, do I? Not like I'm trying to cold weld these together or something daft, is it really? Just get that on there. Tighten it by hand, that's good enough. The primary reason I'm using washers is because I don't want to destroy the paintwork, and also I don't want them binding. The bolt's got a bit of a dodgy thread on it. Okay, final one. On goes the other washer, followed by the nuts. Right, they're all done up by hand. Moment of truth. Does it fit? Oh, it's tight. It wants to fit. It wants to go. Oh, no, she does go. Oh, look at that. Like a beauty, that. Oh, that fits down nice and solid, that. Yeah, that's going to be perfect, that. Oh, that's lovely. That's absolutely lovely, that. Smashing. Right, final thing I've got to do now is to drill a couple of decent sized holes in the bottom of this. Actually, think about it, needs mains in from the NVR switch to the E-stop, mains out to the other E-stop, then there's the signal cable, so it needs 3 decent sized holes in it, also in the bed of the lathe as well. So What I'll do is I'll drill those off camera because no one gives a shit about seeing me drill 3 bloody holes. So I'll get those drilled, bring you back when I actually mount this on here. Give it a trial run, as it were. Well, there we go. She's mounted in place. Rock solid. Got the holes for the wiring to go through now. It's all fantastic. That is solid as a rock, not going anywhere. I am properly happy with how that's turned out. Obviously the final test now. Let's see how it looks when you put the whole lot together. Which is like that. There we go. Oh, that looks the business, doesn't it? That's going to be perfect. E-stop, you can get to that nice and easy. Speed control, forward and reverse. Oh, that's amazing, isn't it? And that is super rock solid, that. That's not going nowhere. Especially once it's bolted in as well, it's not going anywhere, that. Amazing. Truly amazing. That's fantastic, guys. So, now, the only thing I've got left to do, basically, now is wire it up. I think I'm going to wire it up off camera. Primarily because I'm not a qualified electrician. And I don't want to risk showing you anybody bad practices and then people hurting themselves because I've done something wrong and then they've tried to copy me. So I'm going to wire it up off camera, but then I will bring you back once I've got the panel wired. Right, she's all wired up. Now, as I said, the reason I didn't film me actually wiring any of this up or showing you how I was doing it is entirely because I'm not qualified to work with mains level voltage, and I do not want anybody following what I was doing in case what I've done is wrong. I just don't want to risk anybody getting hurt because I give them bad advice. If you want to wire something up yourself and you don't know what you're doing, get a professional in to come and wire it in for you. It's as simple as that. Don't mess around with mains power if you don't know what you're doing, because it's mains. It will kill you. Okay, but enough of the dramatic speech. Guess what? It runs. Yeah, I know. I kind of had a fiddle with it before I started the camera rolling. I didn't want the embarrassment of turning it on and nothing happening. So at the moment, I haven't got the NVR switch in. It's over here at the moment. But after finally puzzle questing my way through the Chinglish manual, and I do mean puzzle quest, I finally figured out how to set it up correctly to run now from the external controls rather than all the internal crap. And yeah, it runs. And I am super, super happy. So let's go ahead and give us some power, shall we? There we go. It takes a second for the inverter to realise it's powered and come on. There it goes. It's now ready to run. And let's try forward. Okay, don't know if you can hear that, but the motor and belt are spinning. And if I engage the clutch, away she runs. She spins. At the moment I've got it set at about half speed currently on this belt position that it's on. I can turn it way down and she runs nicely, even at nice low speeds. So that's very nice to know. She runs nice and steady. I can speed her right the way up. I'm not going to run it very fast for long because I haven't got anything in the chuck. And that's full speed currently on its current belt position. I shudder to think how fast it'll be on its like sort of mid belt position, on its fastest belt position. But yeah, so she runs beautifully, and I stop that, switch to the off position, wait for it to stop, and then switch it into the reverse. The motor now spins back up in reverse, which is wonderful. Approve that, and goes the chuck, and away she runs going backwards. So there she goes. She absolutely works, and the speed control works just fine in reverse as well as forwards. So she's running nicely. And then what you can do, like I said, is you can disengage the clutch there, or you can have it running. You can set it to stop here, and obviously that will also stop because the motor stops. If you set it to go forward from here, chances are it won't run again because of... Oh, it did this time. The belts are too tight, I've noticed in here. What I will do is I just need to adjust the tension on that. But just to prove to you, emergency stop does work. Hit that. VFD cuts out, the whole lot shuts down. So emergency stop does work. Well, that is amazing. I'm one happy little lad, me, now. So that's good. All I got to do now is mount the box round the back and fit the NVR stop switch. This thing, just a latching switch, so that if I have a power cut, it won't restart the motor again as soon as the power comes back on. So I've just got to fit that, and then once that's done, that's it finished, ready to use. So what I'll do is I'll bring you back once I've got the whole lot done. Well, there it is, all back together, and now all wired in. Rather amazing, that. Oh, I'm finally going to be able to use her. Tell you, it's been a long time coming, but finally get a chance to play with my nice new toy in the shop. Beautiful, truly beautiful. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I know it's been a little bit blotchy in terms of progress updates, but kind of got carried away with some of the bits and didn't film some stuff that I should have filmed, really, so I apologise if there's anything that I missed. If there's anything you want to know, just leave me a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer it for you. Yeah, again, any questions or anything like that about the lathe, what I've done to it, what I'm planning to do with it, and also if you need help with any machine stuff. Let's say you've got a shop yourself but you don't have a lathe, for instance. I know a lot of people have little workshops but they can't either afford the money or the space for a lathe. So if you need help doing, just go to my about section and look at the email address that's in there. If I'm fancy enough at editing, it should hopefully, actually my email address should appear above me, up here. But yeah, thank you very much guys. As always, stay safe everyone. Catch you next time.